Hello, and welcome back to the ministry on this December 24th, Christmas Eve. Happy holidays, y'all. Today I wanted to talk about two different things. I watched the movie Us Holiday, and I also watched the movie Fools Rush In. I'm going to do a little recap on both. I don't think it's going to be as in depth as the other ones that I've done because it's it's some pinpoint things I want to hit on in this movie that I don't think I need to go scene by scene type review like I did with a lot of the other films that I've been doing. I just want to hit on the references to God that I noticed. So you have the main character, Georgia. She's living in a nice house in a ghetto community. And she's lived a good life. She's done everything, that she's supposed to do. She's the quiet one in her church. Even when she's singing, the pastor sits there and says, "Now, Georgia, we can't barely hear you. Everybody's singing over you." And she's like, "I was singing good." And he's like, "Come on now." And she comes home from choir practice, and the little boy that lives next door, he has this thing where he'll come over to her house for dinner and then take the rest back over to his mom and dad, or mom and grandfather, I don't know. And she said, "Give me 75 minutes and then come over." And he's like, "Okay, good." So as soon as she comes in the house, she turns on Amber Lagasse and starts cooking up a storm and makes this I think it's like Peking duck or something like that, or some type of chicken something. And she follows the episode to a T. And as she follows the episode, she makes the entire dish and then takes a picture of it and puts it in the book. This is my first point. A lot of us as Christians, a lot of us that have been waiting on the promises of the Lord, we have been pulling a Habakkuk 2 and 2. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets for runners to go and get at the appointed time. She created a book of possibilities. All of her dreams, all of her desires, all of the things she wanted in life, she put it in a binder. Photographs of food, things that she had cooked, recipes, places she wanted to go in relation to her cooking, the people that she always wanted to meet, from Ever Lagasse to the other French cook. I forgot what his name is. And she wanted to go to this place in I don't know whether it's Prague or something like that, this beautiful hotel. And it was called Chateau something or other. And she wanted to go there, and she had all this stuff. And then her last pages of her book, she was talking about how she wanted to hook up with this guy. She had photos of herself with this guy that she had put together, like she saw herself marrying this guy. So she had that book, and she had hid the book in like this drawer, but the little boy saw it one day when she had made dinner for them, and she spilled some sauce on her pants, so she went to change her pants. And when she changed her pants, he went in the drawer and opened the book and started flipping through it to find out, well, what is all of this? So he looked at it, and she came in and caught him, and he said she was like, "That's mine. You're not supposed to look at other people's stuff." And then she puts the book away, and she's like, who's the guy? The guy's like, who's the guy? And she's like, nobody. It ain't none of your business. So, little boy tells her, what's his name? And then he calls him out of his name, and she said his name is this. I think she called it was LL Cool J's character, but his name was Sean. And he's like, girl, do you know this guy? And she's like, don't worry about it. And come to find out, he's a guy that works on the floor below her in the like Walmart, Kragen's department store that she works at. So she's doing a demonstration a few days later, and she's never talks to him. Her co-workers always try and get her to talk to him. She won't do it. She'll put herself directly in front of him all the time and buy stuff from him, but he never says anything to her because he kind of likes her, but he doesn't know what to say. To all y'all people that have been waiting on your God-ordained spouse, they are petrified because they don't know what to say to you. That's why it's been taking so long. And he's looking at her, she looking at him, and she's standing there waiting. Can you say something? Just something. And she buys everything that he ever has out there on display. And as a point of saying, say something to me. Just say something. And she doesn't realize that he's just scared to say something. And that's the case with a lot of our God-ordained spouses. They're just a little bit afraid. Let's just be honest. So, she ends up doing a demonstration of the cookware to sell the food, but the boss gets mad and reprimands her for using the money and making food with it. So she's trying to clean up, and here comes the guy, and he's like, oh, your food smells so good, I couldn't help but come by. And she's like, you want some? So she makes him a little plate of it. He said, this tastes amazing. She's like, thank you. And they stand in there, and it's like the moment that she's been waiting for. And he finally asks her, and then she drops the spoons that she had on hand. And as she's standing up, she stands up too fast and hits her head on the corner of the cabinet that was there and knocks herself out. And they go and do a CT scan for any type of concussion or anything. Because at first they didn't want to do it, but they're like, we need to do it because we need to make sure that she's okay. So they do the CT scan, and when he does the CT scan, he notices 3 spots on her brain, and he thinks it's some type of cancerous tumor that could be deadly for her. So he tells her that after backing up, thinking that I don't know what he was thinking, but he felt like he was put in a corner, and he was like, yeah, you're dying, bye. And then they had a second opinion, and he looked at the same x-rays and said the same thing. And she's like, well, how long do I got? And they said it's about a month. And it's like, what? And she goes home and cries into her book of possibilities. And as she's sitting there crying into her book of possibilities, talking about you never gonna make it to it. She said she was gonna make it to, and then she sit there drinking all of the liquor from the that she would have used to be cooking her food with. And she sat there and then she went to call her sister, and her sister acted foolish, talk about can I send the kids over? And she's like, no, never mind. Hangs up the phone. So she comes to the idea, I'm gonna be bold now. She's like, I ain't got nothing to lose now. So she come into work and bust up her boss's cell phone and all this kind of foolishness and walks right out. And he's actually scared. And she saw the guy tried to show her this book about being positive, and she's like, you have no care for anyone but yourself. So she left, and then here comes the guy again that she's interested in and asks her to go with him to a game on in a few weeks. And she's like, oh, I'd love to, but I can't. Because you could see she was giving that, the look that we get. You know that look. Like, really? Really? And she looked up and she was like, I can't. And then she left. And she went to church and disrupted the entire service because she was like, God, why? God, why? And they thought it became a song called God, why? And everybody started praising and worship dancing to God, why? And then she left the church. And she said, you know what? She went straight to the bank, pulled out all of her savings, and the guy said, I hope you have a good reason to be taking all your savings out. She said, yes, I do. I'm going to blow it. All of it. And he was looking like, okay. And she took all of the bonds out, went home, booked herself a ticket to Prague, and threw her book of possibilities away. Sometimes when God is trying to make a move in your life, he needs you to move first. She booked a flight to Prague and left as soon as possible. Secondly, when God's trying to get you together with the person that he wants you to get together with, he's got to make them make some moves to show how badly they want it. So she rejected him when she might have said yes had she not busted the head. But that was on purpose, because that was to get him to start to pursue her. Meanwhile, she goes to Prague. She gets on the flight. And this guy's sitting in front of her. And she can't barely comfortably sit because the seats are too close together. And this guy keeps trying to put his entire chair in her lap. And she makes a bold statement. See, some of us, we become Christian and we get really nice. And she just got to a point like, I ain't got that much time left to live. Guess what? Look, bruh. And she just tells everybody on the plane loudly exactly how she feels. The entire plane claps their hands. And she gets to her location, has to transfer to, I think it would have been a vehicle, but she decided to take a helicopter to the resort. So she took a helicopter in. And meanwhile, the guy from the positivity book was just arriving. And so was the guy that was supposed to come to their church that Sunday, but he let them down because of some excuse he had made. I don't know whether he said sick or something, but he didn't come to the church. So these people have converged there. The fact of the matter is, in a Kairos season, when it's time for your blessings to come together, everything's going to come together all at once, all at the same time, in the same place sometimes. But sometimes you got to get to the place. Sometimes you have to get to the place. She arrives. She's looking at the beautiful architecture of the hotel. She checks into her room. Then she goes and gets, what is it? Did she get the spa treatment first? No, she goes and she gets she does get a treatment done, but then she decides that she gonna go and get some brand new clothes, and she just buys whatever that she was like, make me look international, and she puts on all the clothes that she could put on and buys everything. Then goes back to the hotel and then goes in for dinner. And when she comes in, she's all made up and wearing all of the wonderful clothes that she had on. And everybody is assuming, oh, this person must be important because she flew in a helicopter. So they're like, the last time somebody flew in a helicopter, it was Elton John. And then here, she come in this gorgeous evening gown and asks to buy everything, the whole menu, no substitutes. And when she does that, the cook's like, who happens to be the guy that she really wanted to meet, next to Emeril Lagasse, and he's like, I'll take the order. And then he comes out as they're waiting for the food to come out, and she's like, oh, hi, how you doing? Meanwhile, all of the Congress people, the congressional people, the senator that was supposed to come to her church, and the guy that was the positivity speaker are watching from another room that's private but has the door open. They all watching and see her talking with the chef, and the guy who usually can get his way because he's Mr. Positivity speaker, ain't nothing working right for him. And she's talking to her dream chef to have a conversation with, and she was talking to him about you use pork fat in that dish and this, that, and the other. And then he was explaining it because he has a little bit of a French accent, so he couldn't quite understand everything that she was saying. And then he does make a gesture to say it was pork fat. She's like, I know it was pork fat. And then he does a little oinking thing, and then he's waving his hand and she's laughing. But when he waves, the other guy thinks that he's coming over to their table next, but he was just making a gesture. And she's just in awe at this factor. So as the film goes on, they end up meeting up with her, and the guy, the black guy who was supposed to be the senator that was supposed to come to the church, he's enamored with her, and she already called the other guy out to his secretary saying that he's going to have a horrible quarter. Why? She knows that he's going to have a horrible fourth quarter because she quit from the company, and the boss that wanted to hold on to her for the next whatever kept trying to raise her amount to come back. He said that all of the stores are doing bad. So she knew that from having conversated with him, not because she was an insider of any sort. So I said that to say, sometimes your gifts will make room for you and push you before great men. She wasn't expecting to run into all of these people. She was just doing something for herself that she would have never have done had she not gotten the diagnosis that she had gotten. And she is the most attractive person to everybody because of her realness, because of her wisdom, because of just her willingness to release control and let go of everything. Some of us, we become Christian and we become very meticulous, and I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't. And God's trying to say, I need you to relax, let go, and trust me. and I'm going to get you where you need to go. Things are going to fall into place the way they need to fall into place. I just need you to do. And she, for the first time, released control of her day-to-day schedule and doing everything right and doing blah, blah, blah. And she just lived. And in her freedom to live, she ended up in places and spaces and situations that she never would have ended up in. So as the movie went on, it's just the antics of the film. And the fact of the matter is, she ended up in rooms with people that wouldn't have never normally listened to her. But because of the invitation to even dine with some of these people, and the decision to come there opened up doors for her. Your blessings are on the other side of a yes. Yes, I'm going to go there. Yes, I'm going to answer the phone. Yes, I'm going to take that opportunity. Yes, I'm going to do this. Yes, I've been on prayer calls in the past couple of days. I've been doing certain things, and a lot of the messages that I've been getting in the past few days is your next opportunity is on the next other side of your yes. Tiffany Montgomery said it. Julian Whitaker said it this morning in the prayer call. You got to be willing to make the decision to say yes. Say yes to your blessings, because this is the season that everything's going to come to you. But is on the other side of your one yes. You're going to cross over into the best years of your life. But that one thing that needs to happen is going to shift everything. But right now, it seems like, well, nothing's moving. Nothing's what have you. Nothing's different than anything else that I've seen. What's the thing? And in this season, I've been getting constant confirmations that it's not so much the thing that you have to do. It's the thing that it may be something you mentally have to release. She had to release the desire to control how her life went. And she had to release the desire to be cautious with every penny she makes. We as Christians have a tendency that because we love God so much, we're not willing to splurge on ourselves, even when we do have the money. We're the one. Let me give this away. Let me give to the church. Let me do this. Let me give by using my hands to serve other people. Let me do all of this. We will wear ourselves out and gives ourselves nothing at the end. But that's the same way that entrepreneurs are. That some entrepreneurs, they will give to their business everything and pay themselves last, if they pay themselves at all. And sometimes it's in that releasing of saying, yeah, I'm going to relax, I'm going to release, I'm going to let go of this thing. And in that letting go, you cross over into the very thing that you've been seeking to walk into. So you had your antics that occurred, but she ended up, now the secretary to the guy that was the positivity speaker, but she knew that he was sleeping with this chick anyway, came over, and she had a kink in her neck. And she went over she went over to her after having gotten her own massage, and the masseuse that she had to fuss out before, she told the girl, don't talk to her like that, because that's disrespectful. She was just saying, she was defending her because she knew what it was like to be a servant in any way at a job. You don't disrespect the person that's working with you, because that's another human being. And the woman said, oh, I'm so sorry. Because she wanted to talk to her too. She wanted an in with her. And she knew that was her opportunity. So she's like, for one thing, if you wasn't doing what you was doing with that guy, you wouldn't have that crick in your neck. And then the girl comes over to her. She's like, I'm so sorry. And then they actually have a real conversation. And she gives her some advice. And the guy, he's still trying to find out information. And she actually walks away from him, the secretary, because she's like, you know what? I should do what she said. but she wasn't ready to do it just yet. So they end up she ends up getting more massage treatments and all this type of stuff. It's pretty much just her journey there. And then the next night, she ends up having a whole nother smorgasbord dinner. But when the all the political people that was there with the Cragen guy, he turns around and they all over there sitting with her. And when the chef notices, because he came to her first as soon as he saw that she was there, what do you want? And she said, everything. Give me everything. And he's like, no substitutions. And he looks at everybody else at the table like, no substitutions. And she's like, no, give us what you got. And they sit there and they eat, and everybody's just sitting and talking and laughing. And the American guy's still sitting in his little booth area that he was in before by himself now. And your light will draw the people to you that need to be around you. Some of you are going to cross over into this thing, and people that you never thought will be sitting around you, blessing you, serving you. And Ruckus McKinley did a word about 2-3 months ago where he was talking about it. The anointing upon you will draw all men unto you. People from all different levels and echelons will come directly to you for the light, the anointing, and the services that you offer are going to come directly to you because of the light in your heart. So, they all sit there and eat and enjoy themselves. And then Cragen comes over and he finds himself some space in between it. And he's like, because he's left alone. He's like, so who are you? Where'd you come from? What's your this, that, and the other? And like, where did you get your money from? And she responds very generally. They take it as like, oh, wow. She's not saying that she never lied. She just said that, yeah, I'm here and I'm spending some money that I never really would have spent on myself and this, that, and the other. And I'm enjoying myself. He's like, where did you come from? And he's like, well, she's like, I liquidated my bonds and this, that. He's like, oh, you liquidated your bonds. And they're like, she must have some real money then. And they're literally thinking that she's rich or something. And she's sitting there like, she's thinking to herself, I liquidated my bonds because I think that I'm dying. So I'm just going to spend all my money. It's not a big thing. Sometimes we make things out like we got to do all this stuff. And a lot of people will think that because they had to do that in order to get what they got. But sometimes God has opened up a door for you that you do the simplest thing and he opens the door. So, as it goes, the congressman the senator comes out and he's like, you have such a beautiful spirit about you and this, that, and the other. And he's attracted to her. He's been flirting with her since the beginning of the movie, ever since she got there. And, she's like, yeah, but your constituents in the city that you grew up in, they are disappointed in you. And he's like, what do you mean? Because he's interested. He's like, what do you mean? And she's like, that congregation wanted you to come to their church service and you did not come. So she's using her voice now to make an impact. When you get there, God's going to provide you opportunities to speak to people in places to get them to change their mind. Your light will change their darkness and actually get them to think, touch their heart, prick their hearts in ways that they normally would not have been pricked. And the next day, they invite her to the charity dinner. And, it was a gambling dinner. And what ends up happening is they are loving her luck on her, thinking it's luck, but it's God. And everywhere she puts her poker chip, they put theirs. And every time she does it, it wins. She bets on her mother's birthday, 1/7, which is actually 8. The other number she was going to do was 11, and the last one was 13. 1, 1, which is 2, and then 13, which is 4. 4, 8, 2. 2 double portion, 8 new beginnings, and 11, as we know, is transition and shift. So she wins every single one, and they end up bringing her out the money chip for it. It comes out to being over $100,000. God will multiply you. Everything that she gave up, everything that she lost, she had it replaced back unto her for that amount of money. And then she got to see Smokey Robinson in concert, up close and personal. Meanwhile, Cragen had paid off the butler to go look through all her stuff. And when she found the letter that she had written to her sister about what needed to happen to her after she was being buried, she put the letter back and then gave the man back his money. And meanwhile, the guy that she's interested in finds out that she had the CAT scan done and that she left. He went to her house, and the little boy told her, "Oh, you're the guy from her book." It's like, "What book?" And it was in the trash. And he opened it up and saw all of the things that she was doing. And he's like, "Where is she now?" And he's like, "She left. She took a flight somewhere." And he's like, "Where was it?" He's like, "Was it this place?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's where it was." So now he's got to get on a flight, and he's actually terrified of flying. The men that are in your life are coming into your life. There are things that the Lord has made them do that they were terrified of doing, but he made them stretch themselves, which I don't understand why we thought that they weren't going to have to stretch themselves the way God stretched us. Look at how much he stretched us. How did we expect that he wasn't going to stretch them in order for them to get to us? In ways that you would think were minuscule, but were trepidatious for these men. He had to get on a flight to go somewhere, and he was sweating the whole time. When that flight touched down, his head had been fully sweating, and then he put the skull cap on, got to the ground, and kissed the ground that he was walking on. Thank you, Jesus, for getting me here. And he had to take the car up the road. But an avalanche had occurred. Her car was coming down. His car was coming up. They couldn't cross the avalanche. She saw him because he had gotten out the car and was looking directly at their car, but she's not expecting it to be him. Sometimes you've seen them and they've seen you. Hold on, we're going to come right back.